in this demo, we're going to show some of the power of elasticity that you get from AWS. And a lot of things with AWS are available to you that sometimes are hidden beneath the surface. And what we're going to do is we're going to take an elastic IP address. So we're going to get a static IP address and we're going to move it around and put it on another instance. And we're going to associate that IP address with a DNS name. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to start off with EC2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here to elastic IPs. And this is a way of getting a new address from Amazon. We'll say Amazon pool. I'm going to allocate that. There we go. So now I've got an IP address. I'll put this in a text editor somewhere so I have access to it. Great. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Route 53, which helps me manage DNS. And previously I purchased a really fancy domain name called Big Blue Website. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this Big Blue website and I'm going to create an A record. And an A record is a record that is going to give me the ability to point that at a physical machine. So what I'll do is I'll put in that IP address that I had earlier right in here. And now from here, I can just leave that at the root. And so now Big Blue website is linked into this elastic IP address. So it's not doing anything yet though, until I associate a machine with it. So let's go over here and go to EC2 again. And I'm going to launch a new instance. I'm going to go to a spot instance here. That's our favorite way to launch things. Again, we'll go to big data workload, keep it simple, keep everything the same here, Amazon Linux. Now, the one thing I am going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have that deep learning CP key pair, which I've used earlier. And as well, I'm going to make sure I have the elastic IP address here. So let's go through here and make sure that I set in the right security group here. Here we go, deep learning CP. And then the final thing we'll do is I'll just spin this thing up. And so once this thing launches, what I can do is associate that elastic IP address with this launched machine. So we'll let this load for a second. And there's a couple of reasons why that's a handy thing to do. Well, one of the reasons why is that it allows me to use a DNS to actually connect to the machine. So it makes it a lot simpler to reason about. So again, we'll call this thing temp Big Blue. There we go. And what I can do here now, if I scroll up a little bit, is I can associate my elastic IP here with a machine. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say associate. And now I just have to find an instance that will let me associate. There we go. We got temp Big Blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to associate this thing. Great. And now I can actually go to Cloud9 here. So go to the console. And let's go back to Cloud9. And which is our favorite way to connect to machines and SSH into them. Okay, let's go to this one. And what we can do is we'll again use the same old trick that we normally use, which is we'll look at the instance name and ask what it wants us to do to connect to it. So we'll go to connect. In this case, we've got this address, but I'm gonna connect a different way. So first, let's just make sure I can connect to it. Great. Okay, that works, but that's not any fun. I want to connect as Big Blue website. So let's see, in fact, if this works. So what I'm going to do to start out with is I'm going to swap this. Sorry, I'm going to swap this out, and I need to remember what the name was of my website. I think it was Big Blue Website. So what I can do is go to Route 53. It's easy to forget what your DNS name is. Let's go to Route 53. And there we go. That's the website name. So I'll put that in my my text file here. I typically keep a text file around so that I can remember to connect to things. And then all I got to do is swap out that name with this name. And if that association worked properly and Route 53 worked properly, now this is going to become the domain name that I use to connect to it. So does that work? There we go. It looks like it does. So really, this is a super powerful way to expose your machine and maybe set up publicly addressable names. So why would I do this particular problem? A lot of times you would do this to create a website, and we've covered that earlier. So you could do the same thing we did earlier. But a lot of times you want to set up maybe a secure bastion host, and then this is the machine that everyone is going to connect to. And then from there, that machine, you can tunnel your traffic. So a great capability that you have is this elastic address mechanism. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is if I go through here and I now tell this thing to go away, so I go to the spot request, I can associate that again with any other type of machine. So I can go through and spin up some new instance, and then it becomes the big blue website. But the other thing as well to keep around or keep in mind here is that you do get charged for this elastic IP. So if you're just playing around like I am, what you should do is disassociate. Here we go. We'll disassociate this. And then finally, the other thing you'll want to do is you want to release it. And this will actually make it so you're not getting charged for it. So you get charged a very, very tiny amount for it. But very powerful technique that takes advantage of those elastic services that we talked about.